Okay, this is a simplified version of a possible talk for our social teachings in the Ligaya. Title is the Catholic Social Doctrine, Call to Social Political Responsibility as Disciples. In our definition of our mission, there is a document that describes what we stand for. And one of the things that we stand for in the Sword of the Spirit is the defense of the gospel. We defend the cause of Christ in society and church when it is being opposed and undermined. And we seek to live these in our life together and foster them. So we try to defend the gospel values and we try to live them out. Now, they're the closest that we can see in our documents that express some of the ideas in the social doctrines of the church. Now, the social doctrines of the church, or the teachings that are found in, especially in what they call the compendium, which is a collection of the social teachings of the church, you would see that it's rooted in the purpose of God in scriptures. What does He want? What does God want to achieve amongst us as a people? Well, if you look at the basic story in the Bible, we see this as the good news. What is the good news? God saved His people from slavery. I've seen the affliction of my people who are in Egypt and have heard their cry because of their taskmasters. I know that their sufferings, and I have come down to deliver them out of the hand of the Egyptians and to bring them up out of the land to a good and broad land, a land flowing with milk and honey. The Lord wants to provide life and sustenance to His people and to free them from slavery. The God who intends to achieve this is the one who is the ultimate power and the absolute authority in the world. This is the I am who I am. So therefore, He can accomplish this. And that's why we see that in the whole salvation story. God revealed Himself through His Son, and the purpose is to give us life. In this, the love of God was made manifest amongst us. That God sent His only Son into the world so that we might live through Him. And this is love, not that we have loved God, but that He loved us and sent His Son to be a propitiation for our sins. In the Gospel, Jesus also describes His mission by saying, "The Spirit of the Lord is upon me because He has anointed me to proclaim good news to the poor. He has sent me to proclaim liberty to the captives and recovery of sight to the blind, to set at liberty those who are oppressed, to proclaim the year of the Lord's favor." Liberation. Everybody who is in need will have what they need. Good news to the poor. Healing. We will be set free to live the kind of life we're supposed to live. That's why in Matthew 25, we see also Jesus describing the call that He gives His disciples. And the call that He gives His disciples is this: "For I was hungry and you gave me food. I was thirsty and you gave me drink. I was a stranger and you welcomed me. I was naked and you clothed me. I was sick and you visited me. I was in prison and you came to me." What is this? It seems to be a description of the basic needs of a human being: food, shelter, a family, belongingness, basic clothing needs, physical healing, and the ability to live your life in freedom. And it seems that this is the description not of what Jesus wants to accomplish, but what His disciples would need to continually do as disciples, because this was the measurement of what it means to be worthy of entering the kingdom. Did you feed the hungry? Did you give water to those who are thirsty? Did you visit those who are in prison, those who are sick? Did you welcome the stranger? And this seems to be the foundation of what we call the social doctrines of the church. The collection of teachings called the Compendium begins this way. It says in the beginning of the Compendium that the church continues to speak to all peoples and all nations, but it is only in the name of Christ that salvation is given to men and women. Salvation which the Lord Jesus obtained at a price is achieved in a new life that awaits the righteous after death. But it also permeates this world in the realities of economy, labor, technology, communications, of society, politics, of the international community, in the relations among cultures and peoples. Jesus came to bring integral salvation. All aspects of life will be saved. One which embraces the whole person in all mankind and opens up the wondrous prospect of divine filiation. Now, how do you understand the social doctrines of the church? Well, one way of doing it is by understanding the principles or the why behind the different teachings or different tasks that the church often would give us as disciples, as followers. In this case, the Catholic Church giving advice to Catholics on what you need to do. But instead of beginning by giving a list of things to do, I think it's best to understand some of the principles behind the social doctrines of the church. Why principle? Because the principles are called the why. And if you understand the why, you would then probably understand, that's why they're asking that kind of action. The first principle is the principle of human dignity. God created us in His image and likeness. And now we will make human beings, and they will be like us and resemble us. They will have power over the fish of the birds and all animals in domestic and wild and large and small. So God created human beings, making them to be like Himself. He created them male and female. We're the only created reality that is made in the image and likeness of God. So that is the source of our value. The principle of human dignity says something like this. Since something of the glory of God shines on the face of every person, the dignity of every person before God is the basis of the dignity of man before other men. And because that's the basis, it continues to say, moreover, this is the ultimate foundation of the radical equality and brotherhood among all people, regardless of their race, nation, and sex, origin, culture, or class. What gives value to the human person is what God gave us. The dignity does not come from who we are, our color, our skin color, our class. No, it came from God. So therefore, all human beings are fundamentally equal. That's why, at some point in time, the church took action against slavery, because slavery, at some point, was the act wherein another human being would look at another person and say, you have less value, and I can make you a slave. You don't have any rights the same as my rights. Slavery is bad because it denies the fundamental equality of all of us. That slave has human dignity because the human dignity does not come from society or from his or her skin color, but from God. That's why behind that principle is a second principle. How do we achieve, how do we preserve the dignity of human beings? Well, by aiming for the common good. We are social beings, so there must be a concern for the common good of all. That's why the proclamation of the gospel by Jesus Christ is a demand to go out to all peoples everywhere and make them my disciples, baptizing them in the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit, to teach them and to obey everything I have commanded you, and I will be with you always to the end of the age. We must aim for the good of all. The principle of the common good, to which every aspect of social life must be related, if it is to attain the fullest meaning, stems from the dignity, unity, and equality of all peoples. According to its primary and broadly accepted sense, the common good indicates the sum total of social actions, conditions which allow peoples, either as groups or as individuals, to reach their fulfillment more fully and more easily. The aim is common good. That's why the principle of common good is the principle that leads us the church's preferential option for the poor. Let me explain that. When you say preferential option the poor, we prefer them because they're of greater value? No. This principle is related to the common good. No, we prefer the poor and we try to think of how to help the poor first. It's because we're aiming for the common good. Because the principle thinks this way. If we were to aim for example, a barangay to experience common good, what's a good way of approaching it? Well, try to look at the most needy group in your barangay. The poor. Let's prioritize helping them. And if the barangay, together with every member, and especially the barangay officials, work hard to provide for the poor in that barangay, in the process, they would have achieved the common good of the whole barangay. That's the principle that made the preferential option for the poor an approach to achieving the common good. A third principle, which is sometimes very difficult to understand, and that is the principle of subsidiarity. Subsidiarity, understood in the positive sense as economic, institutional, or judicial assistance offered to the lesser social entities. So the aim is providing the needs of the least of the social entities. Of course, there is a corresponding negative implication. What is that? It requires society to refrain from anything that would be de facto restrict existential space of the smaller essential cells of society, or to deprive them, or to take them out. Their initiative, freedom, and responsibility must not be supplanted. How do you explain that? Well, again, let's give an example. In trying to practice the principle of subsidiarity, you would realize it's trying to support the previous principles of human dignity and the common good. If you aim for the smallest unit, you will achieve the human dignity of all and also the common good. And if you notice that kind of approach in a barangay, again, using the barangay as an example, what will we see? If I aim to help the smallest unit of a barangay, which is the family, and make sure that they get what they need, and they experience being helped to achieve their human dignity individually as in the family, excuse me, then we will achieve our purpose. The principle of subsidiarity, aiming at the least social entity to achieve the common good. A principle that supports the previous principles. And last but not the least principle, not too hard to understand, that we are interconnected. That it emphasizes the intrinsic social nature of the human person, the equality and dignity and rights of the common path of individuals and peoples towards an ever more committed unity. Never before has been such a widespread awareness of the bond of interdependence between individuals and peoples, which is found at every level. I think this has become even more a reality in our recent experiences of our calamities. I mean, when something happens in the Philippines, it seems that the whole world is out to help us. And the same thing with us. It's that common humanity, especially in this pandemic, the principle of solidarity. Now, in these principles, there are also what we call a set of social values that seem to underlie those principles. If we want to achieve those principles and we are practicing the why we do what we do in our life together as a humanity, then probably these values also come out. What are those values? The value of truth. Every human being must be pursuing the truth. If one is hiding something, there'll be social problems. There'll be abuses. I think that's obvious. If one is hiding something, like stealing money from the taxes of the people, a lack of truth, the battle against fake news. You destroy the reputation, for example, of one honest official. What happens? Then that honest official is not able to serve. Society that does not pursue the truth, conflicts are multiplied. The society also who practices freedom, values freedom, allows each individual to pursue the good and does not restrain anybody who's pursuing a life of good morals, especially expressed in their religious beliefs. And this is inalienable right to practice what you feel is the good thing to do. The more people are able to do it, then the society is able to provide the value of freedom. Last but the two more things. Justice. That we give each other what is due each individual. And the more we deprive somebody or threaten somebody of not getting what they need and what is due them, especially when there is a tendency for us group to just use others and get something for themselves without giving to the need of the other, there is injustice. And so there must be justice within the society, and that must be valued for things to work out. Another value that's important in the social doctrines of the church is the value of love, because love transcends justice in the sense that justice is okay, you give me my due and I give you your due. But love transcends that, because love is the one that then would make somebody think this way. I need to share something with you. I might not get anything, but because of love, I will serve and give. That is fundamentally also an important value in the social doctrines of the church. In summary, those principles and those values, they give us a description of the kind of life we're supposed to live as disciples. And I think you would then get a sense that these principles of human dignity, common good, is something that we are doing already also in the Ligayan ng Panginoon community and in the Sword of the Spirit. Let's analyze it and analyze our mission and what we do. And I will show you that there is some semblance that we are doing the things that are connected to the principles of the social doctrine of the church and are also very much a part of the values that it's trying to promote. Let's look at each of these. First, let's look at a set of things that we already do. Our work of evangelization, which begins with a call to commitment to Jesus Christ, is the starting point of human dignity. Second, our work of establishing committed relationships in our communities is both an expression of the principle of human dignity, the value of each person, and also the invitation for the common good. Our mission to evangelize and build community Christian groups is also a way of spreading the common good and human dignity. We don't only try to promote each individual's value of themselves because they are loved by God. We also connect to each other in community. But we don't stop there. We start evangelizing others to also experience the value of their human dignity and to be connected to others. And that ongoing mission is already the beginning of practicing some of the principles of human dignity and the common good. Another, our focus on radical discipleship that calls for a life of integrity and service in society promotes the principle of the common good. An honest government official, worker, has the capacity to accomplish the work that will benefit more people, the common good. And we produce that in our community. And I think we need to do that continually. Our aim to build strong families fulfills the call to subsidiarity because strong families produces a strong society. Our emphasis on forming our young people to prepare for marriage and our support of our married people in community and our patterns of life try to strengthen family life. And family life, by the principle of subsidiarity, is the most basic unit of society. And the more we strengthen it, the more we're able to produce a good society. Now, what can we develop some more? And I think more and more we are developing our work based on some of these principles, even if we're not conscious of it. But we need to be more conscious of it. First, the principle of the common good should inspire our community to not stop helping and doing ministry to the poorer segments of society. Note, the common principle is connected to the preferential option for the poor, or the common good principle is connected to the preferential option for the poor. And the reason behind this is that society has achieved the common good if they have achieved the eradication of poverty. I explained that a while ago. So we need to keep on working for projects and ministries that would help alleviate poverty in our society. The principle of solidarity in the common good should convince each member that to be a faithful disciple means to be a model citizen. The more we participate in nation building, paying our taxes, and being faithful to the small things as citizens, the more we're practicing the idea of common good. And I think we need to keep on forming people in this area. A few more. The principle of common good and solidarity should encourage us in speaking out and engaging in reforming the government if it fails in promoting the common good. I think that this is important. And the more we allow ourselves to close our eyes to the different things that's happening around us in the government that fails in promoting the common good, the more we are not fulfilling our duties as good citizens and as faithful disciples following the social doctrines of the church. And we will talk about that some more in the last talk. The principle of human dignity, the common good, and solidarity should influence us to live more simply, so we are more ready to share our resources with those in need. The principles of solidarity should inspire our life and mission in the community to engage in whatever way we can through our individual or community life in nation building. That's the last sort of point. And so, this presentation will then emphasize that discipleship seems to be very clear. In Matthew 25, the gauge of Jesus is, are we able to provide for those who are in need? And discipleship means joining Jesus in creating a society that everybody would experience their need being fulfilled as we work together to build a better society. End of presentation.